Hey everybody, I'm here in my craft room again, and it's Sunday afternoon, and I need to clean up this room enough that I can block my two sweaters that I need to block, which I showed on the podcast. One of them's the Throwover sweater by Andrew Mowry, and the other is the Soldotna by Caitlin Hunter. And oh, look at this. This big beautiful table is my cutting table that my hubby and I actually made, which maybe I'll show you in a prettier way when it's cleaner. So it's made with a couple sets of cubes. The 3x3 cubes are kind of the ends of the table on each side, and then there's a bunch of storage underneath, and I have fabric to make curtains for this, but just haven't gotten that far. Anyway, I need to clean all of this off in order to have enough room to block my sweaters. And it's nap time, so the kids, all three of them, are sleeping, which is like a small miracle. And I just don't know how much time I have. Ooh. And I wasn't going to show you this part. And I was just going to show you the cute little blocking part. It's probably not going to be that cute, but I was just going to show you that. But you know what? This is the reality of I actually have to take the time to do this too, so it might as well be part of Vlogmas, right? So I'm probably going to record this, and then you get to see a super fun version of me cleaning really, really fast. Like I wish I could in the real life. Sorry, I forgot to look at the camera. I'm looking at myself. So you will have just seen my little video of how I blocked my sweaters. It's not the most glamorous part of knitting, but it's kind of a pretty magical part, I think. Just because, especially with color work, you really see everything flatten out and even out, and your fabric is just completely different than when you were originally knitted. So, just a couple of tips and kind of to explain a couple of things I was doing while I was blocking. I blocked my two sweaters, my Throwover and my Soldotna, and I used cold water. Some people say use lukewarm water, cool water. I just use cold water because I just feel like it's the safest bet. You don't have to wonder, is this too warm? Is this going to felt something? Cold water should be safe. So I used a little bit of soak wool wash in cold water, and I soaked each sweater in its own little bath. And it's not the most glamorous setup either, because I'm in my basement, and our basement is kind of sort of built as an apartment, and honestly I'm not sure why. But this is the house my grandparents built, and so when I was a kid, low battery. When I was a kid, my grandma lived here, and my great aunt lived on this basement level. So there's it's kind of a weird apartment-y situation. So there's like a sink and a fridge and a stove and kind of sort of a kitchen, but kind of not. Anyway, so I was in the basement sink, using the basement sink to block my sweaters because I didn't want to empty the clean dishes upstairs in the regular sink, if I'm being quite honest. So soak, cold water. I soaked them for 15 minutes. I set a timer because if I do not set a timer, I get caught up in something else or distracted by something, or a kid needs me and I never think about it again. And 2 days later, I'm like, oh, there's a wet sweater in the basement. So, set a timer. At 15 minutes, I squeezed out as much water as I could. As you will have seen with the Throwover, I really could have probably squeezed out more water. I mean, it was soaking through the towel when I squeezed out or stepped on the towel and got rid of the rest of the water that I could. So then I brought them into the craft room. I actually swept the floor for this occasion and put down some clean towels. They are like old ratty towels, but they're clean, and I use those just in case any yarn would bleed onto the towels, then it's at least not ruining our good towels. I'm there's nothing wrong with them, they're just old and beat up. So I kind of wrapped them up and stepped on them and did a little jig to make sure I could get out as much water as possible. In Minnesota in the winter, it's super, 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 super dry. So these are going to dry pretty quickly. In the summer, it probably would take several days, especially with a DK weight and worsted weight sweater. I bet it's only going to take, they might be done, it's what time, 5:30 in the evening? They might be dry by tomorrow night. I should check and see. So you'll see I really like to smooth out my sweaters. I just, the fabric feels so good, I'm just so proud of what I've made, and I'm picturing myself wearing it, and I'm so excited. And you'll also see that I kind of try to make sure, the layer, so the back of the sweater, that I get that, what am I trying to say? The hem, is that the right word? Anyway, the bottom ribbing, I try to make sure the back part is tugged down a little bit, so that it will end up a little bit longer than the front, and just to make sure that, sometimes you think you're stretching everything out, and then you lift up the top layer or the front of your sweater, and your back is pulled up further, if any of that makes sense. So that's why you'll see that, you will have seen that I was tugging at the back. You'll probably notice that the sweaters have grown a lot. which they always do, and every time I look at them and I'm like, these sweaters are huge. And I am a large person, but these sweaters are huge. But then I have to remember they're flat. And I am not flat. I am at least this wide. So that's going to take up some of the room, right? So they're not going to be huge. They're going to be great. I'm a little concerned about the Soldotna though. I think if it's too wide, the length of it is going to look really awkward. So I'm hoping it's not too wide. The color work looks pretty good. The throwover, I'm a little leery because the spin cycle is a thinner weight than the Malabrigo Rios, which I knew, and I don't remember if I changed needle sizes for the color work. I kind of don't think I did. And in some places, the spin cycle looks really open, and I just hope it'll hold up. I mean, it's right here, so it's not like that part's going to get all that much wear. So the fabric should hold up. And I'm very curious to see how my Soldotna fits now, and I'm going to try it on and try it with a couple outfits, and maybe I'll put that on Vlogmas and you all can tell me if I look like a giant 5th grader, because sometimes that's how I feel like I dress, is just like a kid who doesn't really know what they're doing. So yeah, that's my blocking, and I think that's all I have for you for now. I am working on Lulu's Christmas socks. So I started them this morning. I got up really early and had some time to myself, which was super nice. So I started and I asked her what color she wanted for a heel and toe, and the first thing she said was red, so I found this red mini I have, and it's darker than in the stripes, but I kind of like that. And then she grabbed the sock and she said, and pink, and white, and green, no red, no pink. So she doesn't care, but the first thing she said was red, and I remembered that I had this mini, and I just think it will look so Christmassy and wonderful. So that's where I'm at today. Oh, and you'll have noticed also when I cleaned my craft table area, you'll see a lot of little squirrel brain moments, and one of them was caking up my very first hand spun I ever did a few months ago. Look at this monster. It's so ugly and it's so beautiful, and I just love it, and it's ridiculous. And when I saw it in the basket, I just had to wind it up. I had to. And I think I just want to knit a hat, and I think I'll just start from the crown and increase so that I kind of like a toe-up sock, so I can just figure out my gauge and where I should stop increasing rather than casting on a certain number and just seeing if it works, because this is so thick and thin that I just have no clue what the gauge will be. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.